Hi there guys, welcome back to England Rugby Analyst. First of all, thank you very much for everyone that watched the preview show. We're pretty much at 1,000 views there, so that's really cool. So keep sharing, thumbs up, subscribing, all that sort of stuff. That's awesome. So Alex, first weekend of matches. Wow.
Yeah, I thought it was a good start. I mean, it didn't set the world alight, I didn't think, any of the games. I mean, the Scotland-Ireland game for me as a spectator was probably the most enjoyable to watch. I thought Wales were a bit stuttery against Italy, and I thought England were awful against France, apart from the last 15 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I really got into that the Scotland and Ireland game. I really enjoyed it. I really did, just because they were two teams going right at it, real fast paced, fast rucks, fast ball, actually quite low mistakes as well. And both those sides look great.
I think Scotland's defence in that first half was immense. And actually, if you're looking at Scotland teams in the past, that would have been it. A bit like Italy have become recently. Strong first half, keep it competitive, and then they lose their way in the second half. But, I mean, fair credit to see how far Scotland have come recently.
The Scottish backline is fantastic. Finn Russell is the best fly half in the championship.
Unreal.
I think.
Unreal. He's for me, other than Johnny Sexton, who's a bit more. He's a more complete player, I think, Johnny Sexton, because he's got that little bit more experience. But
he's not playing at the moment.
But he isn't playing. So I think if you're looking at if us going back to the line selection at the moment, if Sexton's not fit, Finn Russell for me is a shoo-in.
He's number one at the moment. Beautiful player, and out wide as well. Scotland look fantastic.
Yeah, they do. Lots of danger runners.
Really good. So. The big problem for them, though, I think, is their scrum is dodgy. Without their first choice front row, they are vulnerable. If they had that first choice front row, I think they're real contenders. But I still think they will come unstuck by scrum penalties and just some of that tight work where Ireland got on top of them with a bit more power.
I mean, you look at that Scottish side. I think Greg Laidlaw for me is just. He's in the form of his life at the moment. He's slotting things left, right and centre.
You've been calling for him for a Lion slot for ages, haven't you?
I think he's not the most flamboyant scrum half in the world, but for somebody that you want consistency, does a job, leads from the front, leads by performance.
Kicks fantastically.
Yeah, kicking out of hand and off the tee is superb. So,
and I think it highlighted, if we can link into this England game, the leadership of Laidlaw was amazing. He was pointing things out left, right and centre. Whereas with England, one of the massive problems for me was the leadership was awful.
Yeah, it was poor.
Awful.
Yeah, it was poor. But I think that didn't help with the likes of Haskell on the bench. It doesn't help with a few big injuries in key places. No Robshaw, no Vunipola. It makes a huge difference not having those guys available for selection for me.
That's right, but I mean the point with having Hartley in was he's meant to be a leader. But I thought he was too busy worrying about his own game because he hasn't played for ages.
Yeah, I agree.
And he didn't really lead. In the interview at the end, they said, "Oh, what was the reason? Why were you off the pace in the first half?" And he thought, "I thought it was pretty fast actually." Yeah, because he's chasing his arse trying to get up to international speed. So
I agree.
He didn't lead, and then Ben Young's.
I mean, like I said in the last video that he's playing in a very poor Leicester side, which means that his own personal form's not great. And it's nice to see that Clive Woodward obviously backs up what I was saying last time we made the video, is that he's fully supporting my point and made the same point that I did, that he just looks short of confidence, short of form. Everything he does has gone back to that 2 steps before he makes the pass.
You were absolutely right. You got it spot on. When we needed a leader, he wasn't there. He was waiting for the game to work for him, and it wasn't going to happen. And when Danny Kerr came on, he picked up the pace. He went for it. You know the point I'm going to make. Danny Kerr, phase by phase, is so much quicker and more positive and had better leadership. But his kicking is not good enough.
It's not. But if you pick George Ford for his inspirational play. He comes up with things that are different, that are a bit outside the box.
You accept that.
Yeah, so you think he doesn't do any kicking, George Ford, within that side, so you select him just off the benefit of he's a bit more creative.
And I think this comes down to my key point here. I think it illustrates when England are on top, with their forwards are on top, they're going forward. Ben Young's looks great. You can afford to have Ford and Farrell at 10 and 12 because they're going forward. As soon as the forwards get under the cosh, which they were in that first half, that Ford-Farrell axis just doesn't work because you're carrying a creative player who isn't that big, he's not a massive runner.
Well, I mean, George Ford likes to play on the game line, and if you've got Ben Youngs taking 3-4 paces before he releases that pass, that space is closed down so much quicker for George Ford.
Especially if you're not going forward.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that's why I think George Ford struggled in that first half especially, and if he'd stayed on when Danny Kerr came on, I think we would have seen a lot more creativity. I mean, there was one moment for me in I think it was the first half, when he faked to kick George Ford and it just opened like the Dead Sea in front of him, and he put the pass through the hole. And I think it's that when you've got
Sea, we'll put Red Sea in there. It's called Dead Sea, Red Sea. Yeah,
but when you've got that go forward ball, that's where George Ford really comes into his own, and that's where I think in the first half Ben Young's been so slow and short form really hampered them. Really,
it makes Ford look bad, and it's a tricky one, isn't it? The thing is, if the game's going well, he'll play well probably. But you have to wait 60 minutes to see if the game's going well to then change it, because when Farrell and Teo came on, they look so much better. But do you start with that and then bring on Ford when it's going well, or do you?
For me, I think you start George Ford. I mean, he is one of those that unlocks defence, a bit like Finn Russell for Scotland. And then you've got those big impact players. Look, Ben Teo was outstanding when he came off. I mean, Jonathan Joseph looked a bit out of sorts for me.
He was okay.
Elliot Daly was superb when he slotted in at 13 in the second half. I think they've got to look at that for next week. I think he's too good a player to be stuck on the wing.
True, but he did well on the wing.
But he did do well on the wing.
I thought he did well. Even the finish he didn't quite get, I still thought he did well, to be honest. He took it in his stride and nearly got the finish. We'll do the player ratings. I'll go for 5 as an average. So we actually get a decent spread rather than everyone being 7, which I find boring. Player-wise, I thought there were just too many average players. Or performances. Marler and Hartley were coming back to fitness and they looked a bit average.
Tom Wood was poor, I thought. He looked awful on Saturday. I thought he had a really poor game.
Okay, I'll take that. I thought he looked average, but I haven't looked at it in detail. He may well.
I mean, if you look at his penalty count alone, I think he was way off the pace for me. And I think it took them too long to change that back row situation. You can see that it's not working. We're not getting the go forward ball. Make the changes a bit sooner. We went back to that stereotypical, well, at 60 minutes, we need to make the changes at 60, rather than going, well, back row's not working, we're not having enough impact, we'll get Haskell on early doors.
Absolutely. So Tom Wood was average, those two front row guys were average. I thought the second rows did okay. A big point I'd make, an analysis point I'd make on Joe Launchbury, is he runs hard, but he goes down very quickly and easily. You look at the best ball carriers in the world, like Piccamole, like Haskell when he's on, the Vunipola brothers, CJ Stander. They stay on their feet and they get beyond the first tackler. They step out of it, they stay strong, but they still go forward. And that just creates so many better options, because the second guy has to make a tackle, or even the third guy, so that's 2 or 3 people out the game. You've got guys on the floor who could be in the way and give away penalties. They have to go back through the gate to get through the ruck. Your support has longer to get there. Just so many positives of being a bit stronger. But someone like Launchbury and others, they get tackled and they just fall straight over. And the guys can get in there and jackal the ball and counter ruck. And you miss the Vunipolas, you miss Haskell when he wasn't on. I think that was a big problem.
I think Atoje was quiet for me as well. I mean, there was a lot of pre-talk before the game about how everyone was so excited about him playing at 6, and he did all right. Again, an average performance, but I think I don't know whether it was the pressure for him that got a bit much with kind of new position on the international stage. And
I thought he did okay. He's playing in a new position internationally. The team around him wasn't functioning. He was trying hard, but when he went to second row and all the subs came on, obviously it looked a lot better.
Yeah, definitely.
Daly, I thought, looked excellent. Big fan of his. An analysis point I'll make on Jack Noel when he came on. And I thought he did, in attack, he looked quite good. But he did another one of his crazy tackle techniques against the French wingers. I don't know what's wrong with him. He missed them all last year. He missed them loads of times. And he had an easy cover tackle. I don't know if you remember this. And he just dived head first and just didn't get anywhere near him. It was ridiculous.
I still think that he's got more. He offers more than Johnny May does. I didn't think Johnny May had a poor game. I thought he was pretty poor on Saturday
for sure.
He does offer you that X factor. Johnny May. He's got out and out pace. But I think you need that game awareness, and that's what they were lacking.
When the game isn't, you're not on top. The game's a mess, and he's doing crazy stuff. It just doesn't help.
Yeah, and I think when you've got a makeshift winger with Elliot Daly, although he did an outstanding job on Saturday, you need that out and out winger on the other flank. Really,
yeah, absolutely.
That knows the game.
What changes would you bring in for next week then, Alex?
I think I'd go Jack Noel for Johnny May next week.
Okay.
I would go Haskell for Tom Wood next week.
I think Haskell coming in is an absolute given.
Yeah, definitely.
They missed him massively. As soon as he came on, he made 2 massive carries. Changed the whole game.
Yeah. For me, I would go Danny Kerr over Ben Youngs to start in the next one, just to give him a little bit of confidence. And again, we keep banging on this about this every week. Jamie George has got to start instead of Hartley. He just has to.
Yeah, well, he won't though.
He won't, but he just has to.
Hartley is just not a good enough player, and he wasn't giving the leadership. So really, what was he doing there?
Yeah, exactly.
I think Jamie George needs a start. Keep Hartley the captain.
Yeah.
Okay, he's off the field, so someone else, Farrell's the captain for now. But give Jamie George a start, for God's sake.
I think so.
And then in the summer tour next year, then you move on. Itoje maybe becomes a vice captain. Farrell maybe becomes captain, or the other way round.
Yeah. But I think Matt Mullen looked good as well when he came off the bench.
Absolutely.
I mean, Joe Marler didn't really do anything for me.
I'd start both of those guys.
But I would definitely start Matt Mullen.
Absolutely. Okay, that was a fantastic first round of Six Nations Rugby. Please comment, subscribe. There were like 20 odd comments from last week, which is brilliant. We got some really good ones as well. It's good feedback from the Irish team pointing out that they had good depth in their squad, and they do. They've shown that, even though they lost. And some really good insights there. So do comment and get involved. I vet all the comments, so there's nothing offensive going to get through. You can have good fun there.
Yeah.
Okay, well, till next time.
See you later.
See you then. Bye.